Hello, I'm Ono Hidetoshi, an architect. I'd like to commence my talk with my understanding of the smart city because I do have only small knowledge about that. It might aim to enhance the quality of human life and solve contemporary challenges, taking full advantage of the information technology. After I was invited to this symposium by Professor Imamura, I came up with questions: how a smart city will be shaped, how it is developed, and how architectures participate in its development. After thinking a lot, I came up to a conclusion that the smart city likely has a great affection for urban cosplay. As you may know, cosplay is a Japanese-made English term. Cambridge Dictionary defines it as to dress as and pretend to be a character from a film, TV program, comic book, etc. as a hobby. Therefore, I have made a new term, urban cosplay, to depict the recent phenomena that a group of buildings or building mimic another city or architecture located in other place or in a film. The information technology formed the basement of the smart city. Urban cosplay is also derived from the flood of information, as well as the popularization of tourism. Since the first industrial revolution, transportation technology and information technology have progressed hand in hand till today. Now we can travel safer and cheaper than ever. We will soon decrease the trouble in mobility with autonomous vehicles. With the information technology, a conventional helicopter becomes a drone, which can bring benefit to the isolated villages. Such change of the technology has been advantageous to the big cities. They thrive by gathering money and many kinds of urban activities. They also, They also attract people and push through the globalization of economy. The management of a city becomes like that of a store or a theme park and makes urban space easy to understand. With a lot of cliches, they are always changing and introducing many events, not to be tired by companies, business persons, and tourists. Housing developers also sell somewhere style for their estate to satisfy their customers who can compare many other residential developments on the website. Development of the transportation technology and improvement of the infrastructures changes the form of the commercial activities and defines the suburban form and residents' pattern of moving. Many people are traveling long distance for their business and shopping. Tourism becomes a popular recreation for all over the world. Even ordinary people can travel abroad and experience foreign cities and villages. Moreover, we can enjoy such experience through internet and television in our living room or even in the train. Our understanding of the world has been definitely expanded and changed a lot. Transportation and information technology give us tremendous impact on our consciousness of place. In my view, they are tempted to be like a tourist, even in the real space. These phenomena likely lead to urban cosplay. Thus, urban cosplay is an international phenomenon and is remarkable, especially in Japan. To understand why urban cosplay is so popular in Japan, we need to go back the history of modernization in Japan. Japan was in the feudal regime until 1868. In the city of this age, one or two-story houses made by wood with a uniform style were aligned along streets. Japan enjoyed a long peaceful period as long as 200 years, as being far from the great powers in Europe. But they approached Japan, especially after Britain beat China in the Opium War. Recognition of the urgent crisis ended the old regime after the Civil War in Japan. The new government abolished the feudal system and the caste system. They started the constitutional monarchy system, as well as the modernization of the military forces, and successfully pushed on the Industrial Revolution by the government initiative. They also intervened into commoners' daily life. They promoted Western clothes for men in the public situation and meat diet that had been prohibited by the Buddhism precept. They taught the Western musical scale instead of the traditional one in the school. Even the traditional way of walking was also corrected in the army and the school. Japanese had a habit to put his right foot forward when put his right hand forward. This way of walking is said to be rational in the muddy rice paddy. This way, such reformation was rarely large scale and should be compared to the genetic recombination. Same thing happened in the field of architecture. The new government established the Imperial University and invited many talented teachers from Europe and America, including a young English architect, to import state-of-the-art design from Europe. He was expected to teach historicism architecture that decorated the Western city for the Japanese students. The Japanese students graduated the university, submitting their diploma project. They designed a Gothic church, an opera house, a royal palace, and so on. None of them had never visited or seen before such architectures. Some went to Europe and America for further study, and others scattered to the local governments to design the public buildings in the Western historic style. Only a few decades after the townscape of major cities in Japan turned to a combination of the public buildings in the Western historic style and private buildings in the traditional style from the Edo period. I dare say it is like a colonial townscape. Japan won the Sino-Japanese War and the Russo-Japanese War during the 20th years across the turn of the century and acquired colonies in Asia. Expansion policy continued until establishing a puppet government in Manchuria. What kind of public buildings and cities the empire, whose major cities were like colonial cities, built in its colonies? They built pure Western style buildings and cities that they learned a few decades ago. I do not know what they wanted to represent by a foreign style. I'm not sure if they were aware that they are borrowing. Otherwise, they might likely have thought they were just using fashionable style. Anyway, what I can say is that Japanese had a very complicated mindset between the trauma caused by the big gap between East and West in the technology and scientific knowledge in the mid-19th century, and later brilliant successful learning. However, such twisted townscape did not last long. In 1923, a severe earthquake attacked Tokyo and Yokohama. Masonry structure was very weak to shake. The rest of public buildings in other regions were mostly burnt to ash by the bombing in the World War II. 20 years after the earthquake, although the physical townscape disappeared, I believe that the cynicism that the facade of an architecture is just a mask survived together with that complicated mindset. This kind of cynical and twisted mindset about the indigenous culture is common more or less in Asia. There has been a symmetrical relationship between East and West in terms of industries, military force, culture, and so on, from the 18th century to the present time. Therefore, Asian people have an irresistible tendency to underestimate the value of their own culture. This is another background of the strong preference for urban cosplay in Asia. I should add another factor that drives cities in Japan urban cosplay. At the beginning of the modernization in the 19th century, intensive investment was made in Japan as its physical infrastructure was very weak. For instance, road building was highly demanded because Japan's city did not have enough wide roads to accept automobiles, as it had not experienced the age of horse and coach in the 19th century. When Japan was well developed, the construction economy had already deeply built into the local economy. Frequent natural disasters also strengthen Japan's dependency on the construction economy. Japanese economy is still depending on the construction higher than other developed countries. It means that lifespan of building is very short in Japan. Around the turn of the century, a challenge arose against historic architecture to deprive the status of norms of architecture. It was a modernism movement and was formulated more or less around 1920s in Europe and America. This new wave quickly affected young Japanese architects. While the first import of the European architectural style was led by the government, the young architects in the 20th century, in the 20s, breathed the same air with the avant-garde in Europe, although they are affected by them. Modern architecture was formulated on the basis partially of the political idea of equality. I'm sorry. It spread in many regions of the world as a new norms of architecture through CIAM, C-I-A-M, Congress of International Architecture, Congrès International Architect Modern, and professional education. However, people got bored with equality as they got rich. Many governments steered toward the neoliberalism policy in the 70s and 80s. Not only modernism architecture and urban planning lost its credibility, but also norms about architecture itself was hated. Architecture retired from social representation and moved to the representation for individual person or a company. Globalization and neoliberalism policy drives every city to compete each other in the 21st century. They are eager to attract enterprises and conferences and business persons, as well as tourists. For this purpose, many global cities are enthusiastic to build a high-tech airport, gorgeous hotels, and sports stadium, and to gentrify its city center. This is a reason that many cities, regardless whether it is east or west and south or north, get interested in the theme park strategy or urban cosplay in my terminology. The other and the biggest factor that leads the mindset of contemporary cities to urban cosplay might be the idea of creation. I think such observation at this conference may be offensive. But I believe the modern era have given a too strong light to the creation by an individual. I mean, and the production of something out of nothing by creation in the true sense of the word. We may add originality to creation. Every people today obsessed to be creative. Every company appeals to the market how original they are. Even so, what will happen if everyone is so creative? Assume that all elements of a city are created, in other words, are made out of nothing. The city loses its history and meaning. Until the modern science was formed, people believed that the creation was God's matter. In fact, any city has been formed in the chain of mimicry. By repeating mimicry is woven the rich fabric of meaning that connects us with the world. Mimicry occurs also in the course of time. Mimicry is not creative, but very productive. I may say that urban cosplay is a sort of pretend play by people and cities who are stirred to be creatively or uniquely. I like to stress creation often divides the society, while mimicry producing linkage with surroundings and history. Mimicry is based on sympathy and friendship. Therefore, we should give a due position to the mimicry. I think that urban cosplay is one of the symptoms of the confusion that the contemporary society is in about where to go after egalitarianism or neoliberalism. I do not mean to directly regulate individual shape of a city. We cannot control any result of each activities in the city. In my view, the short lives of buildings and large-scale development are much more fundamental factors to confuse the urban landscape. Therefore, I proposed the fiber city, an urban design theory in 2005. Fiber city represented in 2005 and published on a book in 2006 and 2016. This theory is for shrinking cities. Its central idea is slow and small urban intervention. It focuses on interventions by using linear form to reduce the impact on the existing urban context. It also put a high value on the renovation of the existing structures. We should use buildings longer than our lifespan, especially in Japan. We must forget our belief that the newer, the better. I also presented a role model for the experts of building our environment in my book. It was Gardner. It was to overcome Le Corbusier's well-known aphorism that a house is a machine for living that has been fascinating to architects all over the world through the 20th century. He presupposed the environment, including architecture, is something that exists outside of humans and is infinitely progressing. However, we learned that environment influence humans and humans influence environment. Architecture is not a machine, but something that surrounds us. A gardener is a special entity made of organic materials. A person who produces and manages a garden is a gardener. A gardener is a planner and manager of an environment. A gardener works with trees and other natural materials that humans cannot create. Therefore, a gardener does not invent something from nothing, but instead attempts to establish better relationship between elements, both natural and man-made. To put it other way, he is not creating, but cultivating. Thank you.